Hey everybody, it's Kendra. Welcome to my channel if you're new, and welcome back if you've been here before. So my video today is going to be a wrap up of my Whole30. So if you saw my video a couple weeks ago about Whole30 planning, obviously you know that I did a Whole30 in January. So this is my third Whole30 I've done. First one I did in November of 2015, second one was May of 2017, and then third one, January 2019. So I sort of feel like since that initial Whole30 over 3 years ago, I have just really changed the way I cook, the way I plan. Like I actually plan now, I never really planned before. The actual foods that I eat, and also just my self-awareness regarding food and how certain foods make me feel. So because it's been this like 3-year process of really changing over like my relationship with food and what I eat and blah, 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 I felt like this Whole30 didn't really suck. Like I know the 4th, 5th, 6th day you're supposed to just be grumpy and tired and want to kill somebody. I didn't really find that with this Whole30. So that was super, super cool. But the reason I wanted to do this Whole30 was because I kind of found myself the last like 3 or 4 months of 2018 just eating more crap. Like not a ton of stuff, but just stuff that I knew didn't make me feel well. And it wasn't like I was like emotionally eating or bored eating. I don't really know why I was eating this stuff. But I just was. It was just kind of out of habit. So some of the things I was eating, like gluten-free toast, gluten-free bread. I love toast. I do not eat gluten, so I cannot eat normal bread. Gluten gives me really, really bad migraines. But yeah, gluten-free bread makes some really nice toast. Oh, and I love toast. I was also getting gluten-free pizza crust and making pizza. So yes, I was eating cheese. Blue chips. I really love blue chips and salsa. Holy cats. But I know I just don't feel well when I eat some of these things. So that was why I really wanted to do a Whole30 and just kind of get back to the way I like to eat and just, you know, just feel better. Anywho, obviously on day one, I weighed myself, I took measurements, and I also took photos. This was actually the first time doing Whole30 that I've done photos, and no, I will not be including them because they are just so beautiful. And then again, obviously, day 31, so after my Whole30 was totally finished, I took photos again, measured myself, and weighed myself. So I did lose 2 pounds, and I lost about 1 inch off my boobs and 1 inch off my hips and 1/2 inch off my waist. So I was not doing Whole30 to lose weight. I knew I would get a little bit smaller because I always do during Whole30, but for me, Whole30 was more just like decreasing the inflammation. But I will be super honest, about 2 weeks before I did Whole30, I was in one of the local thrift stores. I love the thrift store. And I found these amazing magenta ski pants from Switzerland, vintage, still had the tags on. I paid $15 for them. They're supposed to be like $300. But when I bought them, tried them on, and they were pretty tight. And now they totally fit. So I'm really excited about that. I don't ski. I don't really go play in the snow. So it was like totally an unnecessary thing, but they are beautiful. So I'll need magenta ski pants at one point in the future, I'm sure. But yes, my ski pants now fit. So besides fitting into my fabulous snow pants, I feel much less inflamed. My joints don't hurt. I feel like I'm actually sleeping a lot more. That was one thing that kind of changed. Felt like the first couple weeks my sleep was kind of weird. There were a few nights I just woke up at like 3 or 4 and couldn't get back to sleep. But now I feel like my sleep has stabilized, and I find myself sleeping like 9 hours a night. I feel like my mind is just more clear. My moods are more even. And also I'm way less bloated. Like I don't find myself to be bloated at all. And actually comparing the photos, like the before and afters, I took photos from like the front, back, and both sides. And when I look at the photos from the side, holy cats, that's like where it's most visible, most noticeable. Because before, like, I had like a little puffy tummy, like a little bubble, and now it's nice and flat. So I know I'm not bloated anymore. Regarding cooking, I felt like this time around with Whole30, I just really embraced leftovers. I don't know what I was doing in the past with Whole30, but this one I actually felt like I had a lot of extra time, just because I was like so organized when it came to planning and figuring out, you know, how I could cook one thing and make it last for 3 or 4 meals. I didn't feel overwhelmed with cooking at all this time around. If you watched my planning video, I mentioned using these calendars. Like I just made like weekly calendars, just a little table on Word, and printed those out, and that was super helpful. I would make a calendar, just write on it in pencil, and then after I actually ate the food, I would, you know, take another calendar and actually note down what I ate. So one was more so like for planning, and then the final copy was just kind of more for like future reference if I need to know, hey, like I made you know, spaghetti. Like I used a certain amount of ground beef and spaghetti squash, and how many meals did that last me? So yeah, that's for future reference. And actually, since I finished Whole30, I'm continuing to do my little meal diary charts, just because I love it. And I think I don't know, I just feel so much more accomplished doing that. And I feel like I'm not just like mindlessly eating a bunch of junk. Another thing I did simultaneously while I was doing Whole30 was a 30-day yoga challenge. I did get a few days behind. I have like 3 more days to go. But it's called Yoga with Adriene, and it's awesome. And I felt like between the Whole30 and doing this yoga challenge, I felt like I accomplished so much in January. Like these 2 things, it just totally kept me on track. I had a giant list of stuff to get done during January. Everything is done. And I just kind of feel like I can do anything. Like I just feel very motivated when it comes to just, you know, getting stuff done. A few things that I made that I really loved. Obviously I love the carnitas from the original Whole30 book. I think I made those just once. I think I made them once. Love them all the time. I also had mentioned, actually I did a Thrive Market haul right before I started Whole30, and I bought a jar of duck fat. And let me tell you, duck fat makes some amazing roasted potatoes that are so crunchy. I'm not really like a potato person, but I just found myself really enjoying roasted potatoes that have this nice like crunchy outside, thanks to the duck fat. There was also a recipe, I want to say it was the Whole30 cookbook. It was for like a Moroccan style chuck roast. And then you made like a cauliflower rice that had raisins and apricots and turmeric and cinnamon and who knows what else. That was super good. It was like, I made it in the crock pot, and I want to say we had like 3 or 4 meals out of that. Another thing I concocted during Whole30 for breakfast was a matcha latte. So I was using a Whole30 compliant almond milk, putting in matcha, and then I got some lion's mane mushroom extract powder and maca, and then a little bit of coconut oil in there. And I felt like that was a pretty decent little breakfast for me, just because I'm not really hungry for breakfast. Sometimes I would have, you know, that along with an apple, or maybe an apple with nut butter, but I really loved this little matcha concoction, and I love putting the lion's mane in there because lion's mane is meant to be really good for your brain and just like making you feel more alert, and with it, I love lion's mane. All right, now regarding reintroduction, I do not plan to reintroduce a lot of stuff, just because I know how I feel. Like, you know, since I've kind of been toying around with food for the last 3 years, I'm pretty aware of how certain foods make me feel. I really don't plan on reintroducing many grains, possibly brown rice now and then, maybe some quinoa here and there, but I do not miss either of these things. Dairy, nope, don't plan to reintroduce that. Alcohol, I do plan to reintroduce a little bit of wine, because we are going to be going to France this spring, and I know there will be a lot of wine around. So I want to, you know, make sure I feel okay if I drink wine. If I'm going to get sick after drinking wine, I would rather get sick here at my own house than in France. I don't want to waste any days like feeling hungover or yucky when we're in France. I will also be playing around with a little bit of gluten-free bread again. I felt like I was eating a lot of it before I did Whole30, but you know, maybe if I reintroduce like a piece here or there, maybe like once or twice a week, that should be fine. I did try eating chocolate. I have eaten chocolate a couple times since I did Whole30 and I feel fine. But I felt like during the Whole30, chocolate was the thing I really, really missed. And I was just craving it so much. But now that I can have it, I'm kind of like, well, that was underwhelming. Like I kind of feel like the flavor isn't what I imagined it to be. So, you know, I'm sure my taste buds have changed during this time period. Also, I will reintroduce just like tiny bits of either stevia or monk fruit extract as sweeteners. You know, like in my matcha lattes, now that I'm off a Whole30, I will put in a tiny bit of sweetener. I had mentioned making this mushroom hot chocolate mix. And that has monk fruit extract in it. So now I'm having that again. So just, you know, I don't want anything super, super, super sweet. And I want to go with healthier sort of sweeteners. But I don't find myself wanting as much sweet. Definitely not as much sweet as I had before I started Whole30. So yeah, I'm super glad I did Whole30 in January. I have to say I'm glad it's over. And the reason I say that is this. I have a ton of homemade stuff in my fridge. For example, I've got homemade pickled ginger, but that had a little bit of sugar in it. Like when I make pickled ginger, I make a brine of rice wine vinegar, water, and sugar. So obviously I couldn't have pickled ginger during that time. I also have kimchi, but my kimchi has a tiny bit of rice flour in it. So I couldn't have that. So, you know, moving forward with my life and how I'm eating, I don't plan to change a whole lot, but you know, for example, if there is, you know, if I make some Asian dish and I want to have a little bit of pickled ginger, a little bit of kimchi, I'm going to, because I don't feel like this tiny bit of sugar or this tiny bit of rice flour is really going to affect me that much. So yeah, just not having to be like, oh, I can't have that because it has a tiny bit of sugar. Oh, I can't have that. So yeah, I'm really glad that it's done. And I feel a lot better. But now if I want to have just like small quantities of non-compliant things, I'm totally fine. So if you did Whole30 in January, I would love to hear how it went, how you felt during the Whole30, how you felt after it, what are you reintroducing, are there things you're definitely not going to reintroduce, and so on. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!